We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports? I hope that all of you are making it a good one. We know that we are as well. The portal of transfers is back. Officially opened up today. A couple of Louisiana guys in there. One Louisiana guy just committed to Notre Dame. We won't talk about that. Just in case you didn't know, Jordan Clark just committed to the University of Notre Dame. Good for him. Won't be in this class, but there is a guy like Jordan Gilbert who is officially in the transfer portal. Nevertheless, we got a lot to discuss. LSU versus Wisconsin, a long time before we got to get to that. I mean, guys, we're not really a month, but we have a little bit less than a month before the Tigers face off against the Wisconsin Badgers on January the 1st. We'll mention a little bit about that little peek behind the curtain of who Wisconsin is. The ReliaQuest Bowl in Tampa on New Year's Day. We'll walk through each and everything about that. The 4 finalists of the Heisman Trophy have been announced. Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, and Marvin Harrison Jr., and arguably the biggest snub over Malik Neighbors. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the 4 that will wrap out this weekend's Heisman Trophy ceremony. We will tell you why, which you already know why Jaden Daniels deserves to win the Heisman, because you watched him play all year. We will discuss that as well. At 8:30, not 8:30, at 7:30, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Carter, the Power Bryant, joins us. We'll talk a little bit about LSU, the transfer portal. We also are probably going to discuss, and I think we're going to debate a little bit here in reference to Florida State being left out of the playoff. I know a lot of LSU fans, myself included, didn't want to see Alabama in there. But if you're going to ask me if I think that they got it right, yeah, I do think that they got it right. It is what it is. But what do I know? And I hate saying it because, obviously, I don't want Alabama to win anything. It is what it is. Paul Sub Martin says it will always be the Outback Bowl to me. That is true. Very, very, very true. No real Edo portal combat because transfer portal opened up today. Jason Brumfield says, according to the outrageous fans, we were supposed to have a mass exodus of transfers from the defense. Yeah, way to manage the roster, BK. That has not happened yet. I do think, though, that we are not done yet from an LSU perspective. Some guys that do not play will probably enter. But LSU is going to bring some of those guys in. So we'll see. Robert Richards says Woodstock, Georgia, which actually is where a lot of my family, actually both of my sisters and brother live in Woodstock, Georgia, just north of Atlanta. He says Woodstock, Georgia via the 985. Good to have you in here. Where are you watching the show from? Oh, if you're in the 318, you're going to arguably get some news, some pretty good news later on this week. As Gabe Relaford, the 4-star defensive lineman from Evangel, decommitted from Texas A&M. Their D-line coach, Elijah Robinson, leaves A&M to go be the DC at Syracuse, which, man, look, Syracuse is kind of putting a little good staff together. So, yeah. I think we'll have some good news here shortly. Richie Evans says, live from the 3-1 great, JD5, give it to him, meaning the Heisman. I agree with you, Richie. Give the man the Heisman Trophy. Jason Brumfield says, it's portal combat. It is. It is a dog-eat-dog world out there. Cam Ward, what's his name? Kyle McCord, Walter Nolan, Jordan Gilbert, so many different dudes that are in the portal. So many different dudes in the portal. Who can you land on? I think you need DBs. I think that you need safeties, or I guess that is DBs. Corners, I think you need safeties. I think you need a couple defensive linemen could use a wide receiver. Does LSU go in the portal for a backup quarterback? Yes, I do think that they need to do that. I think they do that. Guys like Will Shepard from Mandeville also going into the portal, and he is just racking up SEC offers. I know LSU fans and, think maybe he can't play, but Will Shepard can play. If Auburn, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss offer the kid, I'm pretty sure Jeff Lebby and Lane Kiffin, and especially Hugh Freeze, no offense. Just throwing that out there. Last time a guy went in the portal and you didn't take him, his name was Trey Harris. Now, doesn't necessarily mean I don't think that this team needed another wide receiver, but if you would have had a solid number 3, no telling what this team would have looked like. The offense would have been even better with a guy like Trey Harris. I digress. Boogie Season says, Blake, we need those DBs from A&M and Ohio State. Yes. Brown, the kid from Ohio State, also enters the transfer portal. Feel pretty confident there. So, look, it's underway, man, and there's no slowing down BK. Now, the same argument that BK made a year ago about, look, man, I don't feel comfortable about our defensive back room because we had to go all up in the portal. Well, you're doing it again. You're about to do it again. So, just throwing it out there. If one thing is true, one year, it's going to be true the next unless you hit on the guys in the transfer portal. Oh, and by the way, if we have time, I'm just going to put it like this. The New Orleans Saints need to get their head out of their ass. Because what you are doing with Derek Carr, who continues to get hurt, and I don't want the guy to continue to get concussions. And that's second concussion on the year. How many of the concussions in a year does he have to have before you just sit him down for a while? But Gail Benson is going to have to make changes. I'm not saying fire Mickey Loomis because Mickey has done a lot of great things for this team and this city. He missed once. What I will say is that you got to fire Dennis Allen. It is well past due. He's not going to be the guy that brings you over the promised land. Listen, he was the dude that had a built-made ready roster. He shouldn't be losing the way that he's losing. Now, I'm old enough to remember when a lot of Saints fans jumped down my ever-living throat about me saying, do not hire Dennis Allen, go get Dan Campbell. Every time that Dan Campbell does something worth a damn, which has been a lot of times this year, I quote tweet what I said 2.5 years ago about Dan Campbell, and everybody's like, oh, in the comments, oh, you probably were wrong. We don't need Dan Campbell. Well, shit. Look what they're doing in Detroit, of all places. Detroit. Fire that freaking Rudy Poo. He doesn't deserve to be a head coach. Is he a great defensive mind? Hell yeah. As Stone Cold would say, he is a horrible, horrible, horrible head coach. And you got Saints media defending his ass. Because I see all the same shit you do on social media from the New Orleans guys on the beat. Oh, well, they're going to keep it intact. But they shouldn't. Grow a spine. Anyway, all right. Got a super chat here. American Patriot says, I was watching the 24/7 live show this morning. NC State quarterback M.J. Morris at LSU and Baylor were one of the first ones to contact him. Thank you, American Patriot, for the super chat. They have. Would not mind getting M.J. Morris. Look, NC State, man, probably the most unknown 9-3 team in the country. Did any of you that just casually watch football, did you know that NC State went 9-3 this year? I bet you didn't. 2 weeks ago, 8-3 NC State, 8-3 North Carolina. They beat North Carolina. Kid can play a little bit. He fits your style. He fits your system. I wouldn't mind if he's the guy that you go after. I wouldn't mind it. Let him sit after behind nuts for a year. Don't mind that. Don't mind that at all. All right, let's get rolling. We got a lot to discuss. Carter Bryant joins us at 7:30. Who dat dude and me on YouTube says some media is starting to clap back at Saints, though, last 2 weeks, finally. Well, listen to me. If you're a Saints fan and you've seen the media constantly, guys, they're still defending them. I was watching some of the shit that the content they were putting out yesterday. They were like, well, they're not going to make a change. It's not about them not making a change. You got to grow a spine and say, listen, it's time for him to go. That shit would never fly in Baton Rouge. Guys, they're ready to – ain't no telling what they would do if Matt House would just say. They'd burn the city down. New Orleans doesn't seem to have that passion. The guy's not any good. I hate where the Saints are as a franchise right now. I hate it. It hurts my heart. All right, let's get moving. Everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share. Share to all those social media groups. If you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, notification bell, wherever you listen to podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe. We thank all of those who have gone over to Apple Podcast and given us that 5-star rating. Had some Rudy Poos go over to Apple Podcast, give us a 1-star and troll, but like you always do, and I continuously thank you for this. You guys went over there and helped us up and hooked us up with that 5-star review on Apple Podcast. Thank you so much. Let's get rolling. We got a lot to discuss. Peek into a preview of Wisconsin. Talk a little transfer portal. Carter Bryant joins us in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. We're back next. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man, he's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler, he'll shoot you straight.
We're back. So recruiting is about to take off here in the next couple of days. Actually, pretty much has already started taking off. You have Joe Sloan and Mike Denbrock going in-house with their QB commit, Colin Hurley, the other day. And it's going to pick up not just in recruiting from the high school level. It's going to pick up specifically from the transfer portal. Multiple DBs with Louisiana ties have hit the portal in the last couple of days. I feel good that there's a strong possibility that you're going to go after them. And look, you need them. You need a guy and a safety like a Jordan Gilbert. You need dudes that can come in and play now. You do not have the depth, in my opinion, nor do you have the experience for you not to go out and get experienced guys that can come in and play right now. LSU is going to have to try to replicate defensively what they did in 2022 versus what they did this past year. You don't have a choice. If you're telling me it's personnel, in which I've heard from Brian Kelly a lot this year about it being personnel, if it is personnel, well, then I don't know if you have the dudes right now, because if you had the dudes right now, what you wouldn't be doing is sitting a lot of them on the bench. So you're going to have to develop, you're going to have to scout, you're going to have to recruit and get a lot of these guys back in here. The last time you got a lot of guys with Louisiana ties, I shouldn't say Louisiana ties, guys that are from the state, it worked out for you. Some dudes, Deuce Chestnut, Denver Harris, have Louisiana ties, but they're not from here. They're not. So you're going to have to replicate that. And not only that, you're going to have to finish strong in the high school recruiting ranks. Now, are you able to, with everything that's lining up, are you going to be able to flip a guy like Dominic McKinley? I don't know that. But I did put my pick in today for Gabe Relaford, who is the 4-star defensive lineman for Evangel. It's a good damn start. Because I will tell you, and this is what people do a lot of times. When I look at this recruiting class for LSU right now, because they got a lot of damn talent. Now, they got to get better in some areas. Defensive line, especially in the interior, is one of them. You're going to have to go get some corners and safeties in the portal. You're sure as shit you're going to have to go get interior defensive linemen from inside the portal. The best defensive lineman you had all year, even more than Mekhi Wingo, was Jordan Jefferson. Maybe you can get a Mason Smith and Mekhi Wingo back. I don't know that if you can or if you can't, but you sure as shit need to try. Because those guys coming back for an extra year is massive for you. Guys like Brayton Swinson, who has been on social media, you need the depth. You need those guys to come back and to develop more. And you need guys that can play from behind them in the depth chart order to be able to be developed when you go out and get a really and true D-line coach. Because look, guys, let's call it what it is. Jimmy Lindsey, per Brian Kelly, is going to be in an administrative role. He's not going to be on field. With that being said, you got to go get a D-line coach. You're on the search for one right now. John Jancic, I mean, writing was on the wall when they brought in Pete Jenkins. Jancic is not going to be on the staff next year on field. So you got to go get a D-line coach. But for now, you're going to have to. You're going to have to recruit at a high level in the portal if guys get in there and bring them in so that you're worth the damn there. Now, the biggest question I keep getting asked now that officially the transfer portal is open. I was asked a lot of times, and I've answered this question before, so this isn't anything new. I'm just going to make sure that we touch on it again. Is Blake, are we going after a quarterback in the transfer portal? I said 2 weeks ago, like I say today, yeah, you are. Now, this is Nussmeier's show, and I think it deserves to be Nussmeier's show until he proves me differently. Like, I was labeled a lot of times in saying that, look, man, I just don't know how I feel about Nuss right now, and this was a year ago. Don't know how I feel about, or a preseason a year ago. Don't think that he's ready. I think that he's gotten to himself to a place where he can be ready. I think it's so crazy to me that you have people in this media beat that will openly on Twitter say, well, if Garrett Nussmeier can't come off the bench against a team that's in the playoffs in Alabama and start lighting things up, then we might have to go to the transfer portal. It's not why they're going to the portal. They're going to the portal because, number one, they need depth, and number two, and which is nothing wrong with this, they at the current moment don't think that Ricky Collins would be ready if it came to next season. And they're not wrong. And there's nothing wrong with that because we just saw Garrett Nussmeier literally build through and develop while at LSU. Do you always want somebody that can push your starting quarterback? Hell yeah. Like the MJ Morris kid. Can he come in from NC State and be developed and do some good things, provide you quality depth for this upcoming year, and potentially compete for the starting job next year? Yeah. That's cool with me. But don't forget anything that you're about to hear. I'm going to bring up an example. Now, Florida State was a team a year ago that went out into the transfer portal and got as many dudes that you can think of. Brayton Fisk last year. 2 years ago, it's Jared Verse. They went out and got Keon Coleman. So many, Jaheim Bell. So many dudes in the transfer portal. Not one of those dudes was a quarterback. Not one. And the truth is, it wound up biting them in the ass. So, I don't think that you're going to be Florida State next year. Don't get me, or what I'm saying, twisted. But you are a 300-pound man falling on the ankle of Garrett Nussmeier away from being in a situation that can be critical for your football team. And you cannot let that happen. I, at the current moment, don't think Ricky is ready. Do I think that Ricky Collins is ready in 2 years? Yes, I do. 1,000%. But I don't think that he's ready right now. And you can't take the risk. Hey, we think he will get there. You got to be able to establish, like, hey, man, we've seen the guy take live reps, and, yeah, we're going to go after him. And that's why you see Joe Sloan reaching out to him. Mike Denbrock, both Joe Sloan and Mike Denbrock reaching out to a guy who, quite honestly, you wouldn't mind bringing in. But I told you something a week ago, and before we get to talking a little bit about Wisconsin, before Carter Bryant gets in here, I told you something two weeks ago. I told you something last Monday. I'm going to repeat it. Literally, right before Carter came on the show a week ago, I said, listen, it doesn't matter if I think Matt House and his defensive staff is gone, if they are or aren't going to be here next year. I don't think that they're going to fire him soon. I think it's going to take a minute. And guys, here we are. So I think at minimum, it would be 7 to 10 days. Here we are. Brian Kelly is not going to move at the speed that you wanted to. He's never done that. Whether it be Notre Dame, Cincinnati, Grand Valley State, he doesn't do that. He doesn't overreact to things. Now, does that mean, now I want to make sure that make sure people understand what I'm saying here. I do think that they're making changes. I think behind the scenes, they're doing a whole hell of a lot of things to change what's going on the staff. Don't worry about that. They're working. They're not just sitting up there with their hands on their ass and saying, oh, we're just going to twiddle our thumbs today because we're not in the playoff. No, they're not doing that. I promise you they're not doing that. So the bottom line remains, as the portal continues to open. Now, I haven't seen anybody of significance go into the portal. Now, I've been on the show, so I'm pretty sure that nobody's gone in since we've been in here. I mean, officially, Dante Moore has gone in, and I will tell you, if the kid wants to come here, you let him come. Pause. But that kid is going to go where whoever's got the biggest Brinks truck, in my opinion. That's what I do. That's what I advise him to do. One team's going to pay him $1 million to go there, which everybody's reporting that quarterbacks in the transfer portal are asking over $1 million. First off, no, they're not. Second off, you lied. Third off, just because you hear a rumor doesn't make it true from one quality control assistant in the SEC. Doesn't make it true. So we'll see. We'll see. Got a lot of comments firing off in here. What is going on in here? Robert Richards says, start with Penn State's linebacker coach, which would, if I'm not mistaken, is Manny Diaz, which is their DC. Speaking of that, been asked a lot this weekend by a lot of you about Bob Diaco, the defensive coordinator formerly at Notre Dame and other places, who's on the staff as the outside linebackers coach. Do I think Bob Diaco is an option? Yeah, sure. Because, I mean, there's a reason that Brian Kelly brings guys that have been coordinators for him before. Does it make Bob Diaco the next DC of LSU? No. Now, some of you are going to clip what I just said and leave out chunks of that because you want to believe what you want to believe. Oh, Blake Ruffino's on AYS saying Bob Diaco's the next DC. I'm not saying that. Do I think that he's an option? Hell yeah. Actually, 1,000% I believe he's an option. We'll see. We'll see. But guys, I got to tell you something, and you're gonna kill yourself doing this if you constantly do it. You're gonna have to relax on some of this stuff. I promise you the real rumors will come out when they come out. The real rumors have not hit yet. They haven't. The real rumors will come out when shit starts moving. You will know it. Bro, Louisiana, y'all know that we all like this. The more gossip flies in this hole than any state in the country, any state in the union. But don't be surprised if you don't go outside the state of Louisiana to hire a DC. Do I want that? No. Do I think that it's plausible? Yeah. I think it's more than plausible. All right. Before we get to Carter, LSU, now we're going to break this game down a lot over the next month. Just want to throw this out there. I saw a lot of you, all right, say to me yesterday when it was announced that LSU would be playing Wisconsin in the ReliaQuest Bowl. Oh, snooze fast. Snooze. All right, you're not wrong. You ain't wrong. I'm with you. I feel you. Wisconsin's the top 30 total defense in the country with Bryant. Why do I want to keep calling him the Fick Dog? Why is his name slipping my mind? Y'all help me in the chat. It's Fickle. I hate when I come on the show and I know that it's Fickle at Wisconsin. It drives me insane. Defensively, they're a pretty solid team, man. They're 26th in the country in passing yards allowed. Rush defense hasn't been fantastic, but it hadn't been bad. 44th in the country, highly inconsistent. Scoring defense for Wisconsin, guys, they're 18th in the country. I know that you're like, it's going to be a snooze fest. You know all y'all's ass is going to watch. Because Tampa Bay and the Saints play the day before, if I'm not mistaken, and then LSU's in Tampa the next day. LSU's bowl game has a lot of intriguing storylines for you as an LSU fan. Number one, you have the simple nature of what does LSU look like without Jane Daniels, with Brian Kelly as the head coach? What does this defense look like in the final stages, potentially, of the Matt House era? Does Bob Diaco coach or call plays defensively? What does that look like? And really and truthfully, does your team, how much does it mean to your team and your coaching staff to go out there and win 10 games in a year? Back-to-back seasons of having 10 wins. How much does it mean to you? Find out. All right. College football playoff. We talk about that next. We talk about some of the stuff in the transfer portal with Carter Bryant next. Does LSU go after some A&M guys that will be hitting the portal? I know he's going to argue with me about Florida State. Jaden Daniels for Heisman. Got a lot to discuss with our guy. We do that next. Don't go anywhere. We're going to talk about our good friends over at the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. My good friend Carol Falls over at State Farm. Before we do that, got to talk about our guys over at Avid Inspection Specialist, your residential and commercial inspection specialist. Mold inspections, asbestos, lead, drone, they do it all. 11 month new home warranty inspections. Go over to their website at avidspecialist.com or call them at 225-717-5591. That's 225-717-5591. Because before it's your problem, make it the realtor's problem. Make it the business owner's problem. Don't make it yours. Call and get your home and business inspected today. LHI number 11331. We're back in just a second with Carter Bryant. Guys, you might know my good friend Carol Falls and all the great service that he provides over at State Farm. He is your good neighbor after all. But did you know State Farm has surprisingly great rates as well? Along with the great neighbor service, State Farm agent Carol Falls has surprisingly great rates for everyone inside the state of Louisiana. So call him today at 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300 for all of those surprisingly great rates. on auto, home, and life insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to the State Farm underwriting requirements.
By the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Whether you've been injured in an accident, you're preparing for a future with your estate planning, you're getting ready to close in on a real estate deal, or you're about to welcome a new addition through adoption into your family, or you're facing criminal charges, you need very experienced attorneys, and that is what the Drake Williams Law Firm will be able to do for you in navigating the legal system. The door to their cozy office in historic downtown Ponchatoula has been open since 1981. They have helped thousands and thousands of Louisiana families and individuals win cases, close on real estate deals, and regain that peace of mind. Their lawyers over at the Drake Williams Law Firm, Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, are very determined, compassionate, and dedicated to their craft. It's the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by.
Are you wearing a rain jacket inside?
Yeah, man, it's a comfortable jacket. I'm also wearing this in support of the biggest robbery we have ever seen.
Oh, God.
In the history of this sport. What happened in the last 24 to 48 hours is so totally unprecedented that it's hard to argue to the contrary that Florida State should have been.
I can argue it all the live long day.
Well, do you like results being decided on the field?
Yes, but so what Carter's talking about, obviously Florida State is left out the college football playoff. Do I believe that Florida State earned, not deserved, earned the right to be in the playoff? Yes. But based off of their criteria of key players being out and that being in the bylaws, Carter, you can't tell me that it's not a big issue.
Yeah.
You cannot convince me, okay, that Jordan Travis not being there is a big issue. I think they got it right. I 1,000%. And look, I hate that. I think it's a no.
But you just said they were deserving the
they
final.
Were, but there's other. I think Georgia's deserving. If I'm going to be honest with you, and I know this is going to sound like SEC bias, homer BS, I think Georgia's more deserving, in my personal opinion, than Florida State is. They have a tougher strength of record. They have a tougher strength of schedule. And everybody says they play cupcakes all year. Carter, 4 of the last 6 games that Georgia played were against ranked opponents. 4 of them going to either the playoff or New Year's Six Bowl.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm totally open to Georgia being in if we are just basing it off the best teams or who we perceive to be the best teams. But Florida State went undefeated in a Power 5 conference, and the only reason, Blake, that Florida State is not in this playoff is some random North Alabama linebacker landed on the leg of Jordan Travis Funny, and it caused his leg to snap. That is the only reason. That is it. Why do we penalize in a team sport, Blake? You notice we're saying the best team. What better way to describe a team than still getting the job done and winning your final 2 games?
This isn't unprecedented. This has literally happened before. And a team won a national title by doing it.
Okay. And who was
Ohio
that?
State and Cardell Jones literally.
You're making my point. Yes, you're making my point.
Hold on.
You're making my point.
Hold on. But it's the opposite of why you do it, of why they should have been left out instead of left in. Cardell Jones, the last game that he had before the committee voted, was he threw for 257 yards, 3 touchdowns, and they beat a team 59-0 that was in the top 10.
Okay. And Florida State won their game as well.
Winning and beating a team 59-0 are completely different.
So what you are no, hold on. What you're publicly admitting right now is 1 game over Northwestern.
I'm not talking about 1 game.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are.
No,
If you're talking,
Carter, I watched them walk their happy asses against a 5-7 Florida team, and they can't throw the ball for 100 yards. You know,
Yeah.
I know, your Meemaw knows that their ass can't walk up into Pasadena, California. They're going to get their cheeks clapped. And you know that.
I don't know that. That's the point.
Here
You
we
don't
go.
know that.
It's going to be a long show. Hunker down.
You don't know that, though.
I do know that.
You don't know that. You don't.
You know how I know
Blake.
that? You know how I know that? Because they can't throw for 100 yards against Florida and Louisville combined. Carter,
Okay.
Ohio State, when they did it in 2014, scored more points against Wisconsin than Brock Glenn had passing yards in a game against Louisville. Think about that for a minute.
But so basically, this entire sport, a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, comes down to how good your backup quarterback is. Is that what you really want? Do you really want to tell every single player in that Florida State locker room that you're not worth a shit? The only person that matters is your.
Nobody is saying that.
That's essentially what happened, though. That is essentially what happened.
One person
Everything you did not matter.
Carter, go out there.
Didn't matter.
Go out there and tell me and show me one person that's saying anybody on Florida State's team that you're just a piece of shit. Show me somebody that doesn't believe that Florida State is not deserving. Nobody is saying that.
But me telling them, but them hearing that they're deserving, if Braden Fisk or Jared Verse was sitting right next to me right now, Blake, and I told them, hey, guess what? You're deserving, but you're not exactly in. You did everything you needed to do. You went undefeated.
I was the final finalist for my wife. There were probably other dudes that were going to ask her to be the wife too. I'm the one that came out on top because I was better looking.
First off, all due respects to Megan, she could have done better. She could have done better.
All I'm saying is you could make the argument that you're doing the exact same thing to Alabama. You can I bring?
No, you're not. No,
yes,
you
are.
Not. Oh, okay. Here's the thing. Here's the thing with Alabama. Here's the thing. All right.
You hate Alabama, so you don't want them in there.
No. Okay. If Coy Moore could catch a punt and if Auburn could have defended a 4th and 31, a less than 1% chance win probability, if they could have defended that one play is what put Alabama over the top. But it wasn't just that. It was barely getting by 4-8 Arkansas. It was barely getting by USF. Look, I would say Alabama would deserve to be in if they were so unquestionably good the rest of the season. But they were not. They were not. Now, if this was Alabama with Deron Payne mixed with freaking Devonta Smith, if it was that type of team, then yes, all the power to it. It was just one hiccup versus a team that's in the playoff. But it's not as if this Alabama team was unquestionably dominant the rest of the way. They were not. They were very lucky to stay by teams that weren't good.
Florida State?
They were undefeated.
Did you watch Florida State versus Boston College?
They won 31-29 in a rainy kind of red bandana rivalry game.
Alabama didn't play any kind of bad games like that. Oh wait, that's right, South Florida.
Yes. So this is a difference, Blake, and it might be hard to comprehend. So this is a difference. Is Florida State didn't lose. They didn't lose once.
Hold on.
That should count for something.
Hear me out. Losses and wins are created differently on teams that you play. Let me explain.
Okay.
Who is the best team that Florida State played all year?
The best team.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably say at this point, LSU. I would.
LSU.
Okay.
What if I told you that's the third best team that Alabama played? Or you can make the case it's the fourth best team that they played.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Texas, which they lost. Georgia, Ole Miss, LSU. Is that fair?
Yeah, very fair.
Okay, that's fair. So you would have to go to the 5th team that Florida State, which is the best win that they have, is Alabama's 5th game that they played in their year. It's not created equally. So if I tell you, okay, Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, and LSU, it's not created equally. Losing one of those games is not created equally. We look at the loss as, oh my God, but they lost. But I can turn around and say the ACC is the weakest Power 5 conference, arguably, in the country.
Yeah. So what
team
did
that they played was Clemson. So
right?
when I look at that and you say, okay, well, they didn't lose. Okay, well, then every win that Alabama does have, the other 4 wins have to also account.
Yeah, and they should. And it should count for the number 5 ranking. Because look, the truth here is not only did Florida State play the ACC, which was down, I would agree with you, right? I would also point out that they scheduled 2 very good, historically strong non-Power 5 teams in LSU and Florida. It's not their fault that Florida is on a complete downturn right now. It's not their fault that LSU had no defense whatsoever, but they went undefeated in a Power 5 conference play.
It's not any different than when Alabama plays Texas in the beginning of the year, that they actually find a way to be better and make a playoff.
It got a little.
Everybody looks at the ACC versus the SEC, right? Like their matchups. 2 of the. Did he just leave? What just happened here? What just happened? Can you hear me? Hello?
Wait, what happened? I don't know what happened.
Can you see me now?
Yeah, I can. I see. I don't know.
What's going on over there, John Cena?
I don't know. I was about to get.
You know what's happening? The Lord's telling us to move on. That's probably what's happening.
That's fine. Here. This will be my final thing. Okay. If you were in Florida State's spot, and
I kill somebody.
Exactly.
But I'm not in their spot.
Right. So that's part of being objective here, right? I would be I wouldn't be able to overcome it, right? Especially considering, and you and I have been discussing this privately today, how some Florida State's fans feel about the powers that be speaking about them, and seeing the things that Jordan Travis said. Well, if I would have broke my legs sooner,
that's so heartbreaking.
That's tough. And look, I understand that there will be many that say, well, you're arguing over something silly because everything's going to change next year, and everybody will.
Passionate over something. We can argue about it, whatever in the hell we want to.
I will say this, because I'm a huge believer of keeping the playoff at 4, if not 6. Okay.
But now
now it's going to be 12. Right.
Well, now you kind of have to.
Yeah. So this is the good thing about it, is the public perception of the playoff has forever shifted, and the timing couldn't have been better for the 12-team playoff format. And that to me is the biggest story, because the narrative, Blake, going into this year was, man, we have too many teams in the playoffs, right? The playoff semifinals normally suck. Last year they were really good, obviously, but normally they're not good games. But now that we truly have felt that somebody was truly wronged by being left out, the powers that be got exactly what they want, because now the people that were on the fence about a 12-team format, they're radicalized into thinking, well, we got to do it now because we got to make sure everybody gets in, which is flawed logic. But that to me is so huge moving forward for the sport.
The last point I was trying to make earlier too, just to
go ahead.
Wrap it up in a bow. I don't care that the SEC is 6-4 against the ACC, because there were years, all right, where the SEC was like 8-2 against the ACC, and Clemson got in and was the number 1 seed over teams like Georgia and Alabama. Just throwing that up. So if you're going to keep that same logic and energy, keep that same logic and energy. All right.
Yeah.
We do have a couple of super chats. American Patriot with a $199 super chat says Carter's 100% correct.
AP's
and
my
Dan
guy.
Bergeron says that he hopes that the ACC officiating crew does the Michigan-Bama game. Oh, you know what I was going to ask you? Hold on really quickly before we move on. Let me ask you this. We look at Bama as the only team that surpassed Florida State. Like Bama, it seems, and again, let me just make this preference. I hate Alabama. Carter, I hate Alabama.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
I'm not trying. Yeah. I feel disgusting having to defend them. I'm not defending them crazy toothless sons of bitches. All I'm just saying is I'm just trying to call it like I see it. But why are we only pointing at Alabama as the bad guy here when Texas also has a loss?
Yeah, and that's the weird thing about it, Blake, is a good chunk of Texas's argument was helped by Alabama beating Georgia, right? There are so many different scenarios that I would have loved to have seen played out, Blake, such as what if Georgia would have won? Then Texas is still getting in over Florida State. They could have made the same argument would have been made. So you're right. It's important to point out that Texas also got this same privilege, if you will. But look, Texas is you look at their loss. Their loss happened on the final drive of the game versus a 10-2 Oklahoma team. So the playoffs is going to be great. Look, I'm favored over Florida State by multiple scores if they play.
Yeah,
but
it'd be at minimum a 14-point line, but that doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter. But
it doesn't matter, right? So I'm looking forward to the playoff and looking to see if Nick can get it done.
Yeah, and look, it's going to be nuts if it's a rematch between them and Texas. And look, I talked about this on Rafino and Joe's show just really quickly. Bro, this game with Washington is the worst matchup Texas could have. Everybody Carter, I keep hearing from people, oh, well, they got this guy from Louisiana in their secondary. Carter, they're 96th. Where is it? They're 94th in the country in passing yards allowed. That secondary is horrible. So is Washington.
Texas.
But Texas' secondary is horrible. All right. Matt House going to get fired or what?
As the day moves on, Blake, it looks like there's a good chance he'll get retained.
Or at least going to be able to look for another job before he's told to move on.
Right. Like it's a weird thing because one thing that was blown up with me is why in the heck is he still out there recruiting if he's going to be kept? Well, you're still under contract by the school. It's your job, right? So that doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things. Would I have liked to have already seen him been fired at this point? I would. I do think there needs to be a change there. And look, it's not all his fault, but it's an issue, and I think they do need to move in a different direction. And if they were to keep him, they're going to need to move some assistants around to bring in some new blood.
Well, and look, the number one coach, and we talked about him last week, was Corey Raymond. I don't think Corey Raymond fits the style of what Matt House wants to do. Like if you go there, I mean, it's a completely different system. That's not the guy schematically that you want to come in and teach zone coverage. He's not a zone coverage guy.
Yeah, and also Blake, for the Corey Raymond thing, I just don't know if it's a good fit with how things happened just a few years ago. So I don't know. I mean, I go back to this when it comes to being the LSU defensive coordinator. This is a premier job. This is not Oklahoma State replacing their defensive coordinator. This is not Oregon State replacing their defensive coordinator. This is a destination job. This is where defensive coaches want to be. This is where you can get the elite guys to play in your style of defense. This is where you can compete for national championships. It's one of the 5 to 10 schools that you legitimately can do it year after year after year. And there is no reason for Scott Woodward and Brian Kelly to settle for anything less than a middle-of-the-pack ranked defense. And LSU just did not do anything well defensively. There was nothing. So you can't settle for mid when you're elite.
Does it worry you that Brian Kelly was so adamant about not wanting to have to go in the portal for DBs, and yet here we are again having to go in the portal for DBs? You know, the Gilbert kid went in, the Brown kid went in, and you're going to have to go get some D linemen from the portal. I mean, you're just going to have to. So you surprised, you know, he said he didn't want to do this in year 3, and here we are probably going to take 8 to 10 guys, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Blake, when the Relaford news drops on Friday, he announced he's going to come in on Friday. They're also going to have more high school recruits than they had last year. So for those that think it's just going to be another portal year, he's bringing in a huge high school recruiting class.
Carter, wouldn't it be the biggest high school recruiting class from a number standpoint that we've ever had?
Yeah, if a few other dominoes fall, it'll be around 28, 29, like 30 guys at the absolute maximum. But Relaford would be the 27th high school recruit, and you still got to go get guys out of the portal. I'm very interested in Jordan Gilbert. I liked him coming out of U High. He wasn't, you know, he's not the biggest guy, but he's a good football player. Not the best.
Good. I mean, he's not little either.
Yeah, and look, we know he can play, right? That would at least be someone you can rotationally bring in and come back to, you know, the homeschool team. So obviously, him being U High, Baton Rouge, it would truly be a homecoming for him.
Surprised that more moves haven't been made offensively. Guys like Denbrock and Sloan and Cortez. You surprised that they're still around this? I don't want to say late in the game, but I mean, Carter, other than Mike Denbrock and the Houston connection, which obviously they're going Willie Fritz, you hadn't been hearing a lot of chatter around LSU. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not going to happen tomorrow, or, you know, there hadn't been a lot of chatter either way. Surprised by that?
A little. I could see Denbrock getting looked at by an NFL team. I could. You know, NFL's a copycat league. Tom Monken was, you know, the hot rising NFL coordinator and my college coordinator last year, and now he's in the NFL. You could see someone do the same thing with Mike Denbrock. Obviously, Mike Denbrock's in Little Rock right now, getting ready for the Broyles Award. So,
right.
So hopefully he wins that. But yeah, I mean, I'm a little shocked. But then again, you know, if you're Mike Denbrock, what better place to be than where you are right now, right? The big benefit of being a coordinator and an assistant coach at a school like LSU, that's kind of like the defensive coordinator thing, is you're making a salary that most head coaches make elsewhere, right? Like there are some Sunbelt coaches that are head coaches that make what Cortez Hankton makes annually. So you get it is so good to be an assistant coach at a school like LSU, and it's not just an LSU thing. So I think there is a lot of benefit of just staying put if you're a position coach at LSU.
Surprised that you're seeing a lot of these QBs hit the portal, like Kyle McCord at 5 a.m. He was in the portal.
Not at all, Blake. I was kind of shocked that we didn't see more of it last year. It makes absolutely no sense if you are a starting quarterback at the Power 5 level to not put your name at least in the portal, even if you don't have any desire to leave. You don't know how many QB desperate teams that are out there that'll be willing.
There's a lot, buddy. There's a lot.
That will be willing to pay you to come play at their university. This does not shock me at all, Blake, at all, especially considering two things. A good bit of the very successful quarterbacks we have seen at the highest level here are transfer guys. Obviously, the three guys that are in New York City, one of our very own, they're all transfer quarterbacks. And also something else that we've seen, Blake, is there are a lot of quarterbacks who stay put and regress, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most quarterbacks that actually take that leap of faith and go to another room and compete and win a new job, that makes you stronger and that makes you better as a player. So I also think if there are QBs out there, they might be thinking, well, maybe it's the transfer itself that does me good in my own personal development as well. So you look at some of the quarterbacks, Blake, that stayed put. They had massive regressions, right? Obviously, two in the SEC that come to mind is Will Rogers fell off a cliff, and KJ Jefferson fell off a cliff. And it's not all their fault. It was a new system. Their offensive linemen weren't as good as they were the year before. But
Will Rogers going to Washington.
Is that a thing now?
That's the thing. Washington is the big because of the air raid and stuff that they run. To be honest with you, Penix does not. I mean, Penix got a big arm. Penix also throws some ducks.
Yeah, I mean, Blake, this past weekend was the first time I really sat down and watched the Washington offense. They are so well put together. Their run game is really underrated, and their receivers
they just found a running back that can actually do something. They could not run the football at all, probably for the first 10 weeks of the year. That kid's got like 600 yards in the last 4 games. It's ridiculous.
I just couldn't believe that that they were as good as they were. I didn't think like that was the first time I sat first play to the last play.
Right.
They're so well coached. They're so well put together. But let me ask you a question.
All right.
From an LSU perspective, and I'll put this question up on the Power Hour LSU Twitter account. Do you go get another quarterback if you're LSU?
No question.
You have to.
You have to.
Okay.
Because look, here's the truth. A lot of people labeled me as, and look, quarterback play, if there's one thing that I've gotten damn near perfectly right at LSU or doing AYS, it's been quarterback play. Everybody on the Miles Brennan hype train, we go to camp and everybody's like, Miles Brennan's got the biggest arm. I'm like, guys, he's not able to hit the broadside of a barn. My dude is more inaccurate than your best friend that's trying to pick up hose at the bar room. Inaccurate, bad. Couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. All right. And then, like, so I'll never forget this. I did a show before Jaden Daniels committed on purpose, sourcing, okay, saying that the kid was coming in. And everybody was telling me, bench him for Nuss, bench him for Nuss, bench him for Nuss. And I'm like, guys, what he's doing with his legs, I get you want him to throw the ball down the field. If he puts it all together, the kid's going to win a Heisman. Carter, I bet $100 at plus 4,000 for Jaden to win the Heisman.
Oh, let's go.
Cha-ching. Okay. Dollar bills, y'all. I'm going to the strip club. But the bottom line is Garrett Nussmeier was not ready in 2022 until the end because he got developed. Now, and you know what, Carter? You know what bugs the shit out of me? Can I tell you what bugs the shit out of me? You got people on this beat saying when he comes in against Alabama, they're like, oh, well, if he doesn't get more accurate, he's going to have to, we're going to have to.
Oh, yeah, that pissed me off. I mean, that pissed me off.
I'm like, guys, you got to let quarterbacks take time to develop. We can't be in this microwave society all the time when it comes to quarterbacks. But, and all that being said, Ricky Collins, I said all that to say Ricky Collins is not ready, okay? I think he will be ready in 2 years. He's not ready right now. And you got to go get a guy that if God forbid Garrett Nussmeier goes down, that you can plug in and play right now. Look, you got to do it, Carter, based on solely what just happened with Florida State.
Exactly. That was going to be what I brought up next. And this proved once again at the collegiate level, the second most important player on your team, unless he is truly a Malik Neighbors transcendent level talent, is always going to be your backup quarterback. You got to have someone in there that you feel comfortable with, right? And at this point, I'm not sure if everyone feels totally comfortable with Ricky Collins. And if you are LSU, even if you are comfortable with Ricky Collins, you should listen to see if quarterbacks are willing to jump in a room with this much talent in it. And if they want to take that leap, and
that tells you something about you.
Right. And if obviously I saw the go hard or go home, but
we'll bring it up. I'll just read it. He says, unpopular opinion, go hard, harder, pause, or go home on YouTube. with a $5 super chat says, unpopular opinion, I don't think BK is as high on us as most LSU fans think he is. Not true. BK wants a mobile quarterback. MJ Morris isn't coming here to sit. I agree with him on that last part, but I don't think that he's just. You know what, Carter? He would have fought for Howard,
Exactly. Yes.
Walker Howard, and let Nussmeier walk if he wasn't high on him, right? I mean, like we're not.
No, I feel.
Go ahead.
I feel pretty comfortable saying Brian Kelly likes Garrett Nussmeier a lot.
Yeah.
I feel pretty comfortable saying that. But I don't think BK's going to love where his quarterback room is, because it always felt so good to have Garrett Nussmeier as a backup with proven film as an explosive backup quarterback with what he did versus Georgia. It's not just the fact that you feel comfortable as a coach, it's just your team feels comfortable, right? You know, when I got to spend some time with Jeray Jenkins last offseason at a card show, right? And Jeray just talked about like how at ease he was with Garrett as the backup, like how good that felt having that. Now, it's not to say that the team doesn't feel that way about Ricky Collins, but Garrett proving something on the field was very important for everyone in that orbit. So I like Garrett Nussmeier as a starter next year, but I am open to hearing anybody that wants to come in and compete to be the backup or potentially win the job. I will tell you this, though. Garrett Nussmeier is a fighter. That guy has gone through a lot already as an LSU QB, and you know he truly is a competitor. So I think he's also open to someone else trying to come take his job, which would be very hard to do at this point.
Last question. I'll get you out of here. Jaden Daniels. I mean, like this is over, right? Heisman.
Yeah, he will win. I think at this point, obviously the betting markets make you feel a lot better.
Minus 1,400. I mean, that's such a big gap, man.
Right. I would, though, Blake, and I know this is going to sound just wild. I truly would have liked to have seen Bo Nix win just to see how far we have moved as a society when it comes to actually judging individual talent, right? Because what Bo Nix did on Friday had no bearing on the award anyway, right? For me, is that Jaden Daniels statistically had a better season than any other Heisman winner of the modern era, maybe outside of Joe Burrow. They were the only two that average over 400 yards. Everybody's seen the stats at this point. So,
yeah, if you hadn't seen it, go to Preston Guy's Twitter. He retweets it like every 30 minutes.
Every 2 seconds, right? And I know I've spammed a lot of people. Got a lot of weird looks at an Arkansas game with the Jaden Daniels.
I saw that.
I did. I'm doing whatever I can to get this guy this award. And look, Jaden was like you and I. He's obviously very nervous. You know, going. I mean, this is the biggest individual award you can win in sports.
He's J. Cool, man.
I hope.
I talked to some people around him today. You know, because he's not in Baton Rouge or wasn't in Baton Rouge, and I said, I just asked the person I was talking to. I was like, who obviously has known him his entire life, and I was like, listen, how's Jay? And he goes, man, cooler than Friday night. After that, rap. Jay cool, man. Look, Carter. I'm not saying it should be unanimous. No Heisman's ever been unanimous, but for me, it's over. Like this kid, that kid. So. Carter, did you see this? Did you see I tweeted out #retire5 and people were like, no, you can't retire number 5. It's too swaggy. The number 5
is swaggy though. That's
number 5 and number 9 should be retired right now.
But Blake, it's that single digit.
I don't give two flying shits.
It's a single digit. You know it's a thing.
Is number 20 retired? Yeah.
Yeah, number 20. Yeah, Billy Cannon.
Nobody will ever wear number 9 again, nor should they. And the truth is, here's the truth. And I'm going to look in the camera when I say this. Any of you think that Jaden Daniels' number should not be retired after winning the Heisman, you're a damn fool. You're a damn fool.
Oh, here's the thing about that is I've gotten to know quite a few people on the 07 team. They still want 72 retired for
Retire it.
Georgia. Retire.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Here's
But-
the thing, though. He didn't win the Heisman.
No, he didn't. He didn't. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's
He's going to have a statue.
yeah. Give him a statue.
He's going to have a statue. You can't. I mean, you give Billy Cannon one. That man, was a con artist at the end.
Well, you see, wait, is that someone named Ingrid? I haven't Ingrid. Am I saying that Ingrid? It's number 9 retired. Yeah, it is in theory.
Yeah, it is in theory, but it's not official. If somebody ran out there and wore number 9. Now, here's the truth: if anybody in the country on LSU's team, football wise, wore number 9, they'd probably get shot. I mean, they'd probably get shot. John Wilkes Booth would be in the stadium that day. I mean.
So what? Dylan Cruz needs his jersey retired.
The guy that killed Abe Lincoln.
Yeah. Okay. But we got Dylan Cruz, so you still want Dylan Cruz retired?
Hell
right? Yeah. So I think
Cruz might be the best LSU position player ever.
So what about Paul Skeens? Should retire number 20?
He was here for 1 year, but you're not gonna like my answer.
No, I think it should
retire it and put it in gold plated. Put it gold plated, real 24 karat gold. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Paul Skeens should be retired.
Carter? He won the Heisman.
Yeah, he won
I mean, am I wrong here? Am I wrong? Retire number 5,
5, 3, and 20 for baseball, obviously. So
I'm not 5.
No, 3 and 20 for baseball, 5 for football,
and number 9.
And number 9 for football. I'm down. I do think this though. As far I'm a big jersey number snob, and I know how popular the single digit number is in college football.
Wear
I will say
0. Be new.
Here's what I would say is I don't think you should get a single digit number in college football unless you've proven something. That I've always, because Deion Sanders said that before this pass. I've always been that way.
Well, Deion, Deion's in trouble.
Yeah, but that was one thing I agreed with him on. Prove me something that you deserve a single digit. Now I'm gonna leave you on a cliffhanger because I'm just gonna put this out there. By next Monday, there's one player I have always loved. He will be an LSU Tiger next season, and you know exactly who I'm talking about. But I do have to go. We're doing burgers tonight, so. Let's go.
Interesting. Cliffhanger. Usually I'm the ones living cliffhanger. I don't like this. Now I know how you feel.
Let's go.
See you tomorrow. Carter, the Power, Bryant. We'll see you guys tomorrow, man. We're out of here too. Peace.